Lavistro wakes in the underground. Cyber Dragon host seizes the helm. Dive into the madness of virtual realms. Welcome to DragonCast. Fire breathing wide, screaming loud. Lavistro's here to shake the crowd. Psychotic dragon ready to ignite. Hold on tight, we're taking flight. From Gamergate to Gamergate, woke crusaders spew their hate. Lies unfold before our ears. Podcast rage to calm our fears. Reclaim gaming in DragonCast. Fire breathing wide, screaming loud. Lavistro's here to shake the crowd. Psychotic dragon ready to ignite. Hold on tight, we're taking flight. DragonCast. Worlds clash in endless collision. Gaming news with a fierce precision. With a spark so wild it breaks the norm. In the tempest's eye, a analyst face the score. Truth burns with a psychotic roar. Corrupt suits sneer what they despise. DragonCast will open your eyes. Integrity found in DragonCast. Fire breathing metal, screaming loud. Lavistro's here to shake the crowd. Psychotic dragon ready to ignite. Hold on tight, we're taking flight. DragonCast. DragonCast. Of justice cut through the dark. Lavistro's roar ignites the spark. A dragon's heart fiercely defends the gaming world. Our passion ascends. This is DragonCast. DragonCast.
And we're live. Hello, everybody. How's it going? If you hear a little popping sound in the background, I have a little sore throat. I have a throat lozenge, but the show must go on. That being said, let's say hello to everyone in the chat. So we got over on the kicks, EPB 222. Oop. What happened there? Let me fix that. Something's always getting messed up, isn't it? Yes, we have GPB 222. And then we have Frostfang saying, always, as always, enjoy this show and help us get to 500 subs for our Purple Cyber Dragon. I see people are slowly coming in, and it's going to take a while. Like, my Streamlabs is showing 6 viewers. We are running a little late. I do apologize. But we are live on the Kicks, on the Rumbles, on the YouTubes, on the Twitches, on the X's, all of them. So, yeah, and apparently I forgot to turn off my live stream, so y'all were seeing me working live, as I was working. So I had to turn that off and delete those videos, 18 hours of long videos. That's what happens when you're tired as all get out. But anyways, so yes, we got a lot to cover. And we're going to cover it. But you guys should probably already know what's going to be the topic: Gamergate, the soul of real truth. Now, I do want to give a disclaimer before we continue. We are not a political channel. We don't take sides in the political on the political atmosphere, because we believe that everyone, the term gamer is meant for everyone, regardless of your political leanings. But you're going to see here that regardless of what tribe you ascribe to, especially if you look at the thumbnails, doesn't matter. They're going to attack you. All right? And we got a lot to cover and 2 hours to cover it in. So I gotta get this all done before Hypnotic comes on. So everything I'm going to show you, I've verified and deep dived the sources. And then I'm going to give you my own personal final thoughts on the situation, based on the evidence presented. All right, and you can believe me or not. I'm not defending nobody. I'm stating as is. All right, so if you think I'm defending, like, for example, Daniel Barbara, well, I was already exposed. Okay, somebody called me a conservative rhino, SJW. I'm going to keep mentioning that because he put me on 3 lists. You know who does that? The left. But let's go ahead and continue. I think I said enough, and we're going to see what happens when you mess with our games. First off, I want to let people know, I do know PSN, the PSN is back up for PlayStation Network, but just want to start this off with a little bit of a humor. Krispy Kreme was offering free donuts while you're waiting for your PSN network to come up. I do believe it came up recently. Krispy Kreme is reportedly free. Niche Gamer reports that Krispy Kreme is offering free donuts to gamers who are sick of waiting for the PSN to come back up. At the time of writing, the PlayStation Network has been down for nearly 24 hours, making it difficult for users to access features they often take for granted. Hope some glazed donuts will ease the pain. The news comes from multiple sources, but at the moment there's no list of participating locations, so don't be disappointed if your local donut shop isn't among those participating. In the meantime, if you're stuck waiting for a PSN to come back up, you can always check out some indie games for PC. Even if you're not a PC gamer, many PC games tend to not be resource intensive, so even the potato laptop you use for work or school should be able to run them. Yeah, so just a little humor there. I thought was funny. Let's get to the main news. That Park Place reports Politico took $8 million in USA taxpayer money while attacking Gamergate and pushing anti-gamer narratives. Trump admin just cut them off. It turns out that Politico, the left-leaning news outlet that has long smeared the Gamergate and the gaming community, was receiving millions in taxpayer dollars. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announced Wednesday that the outlet will no longer receive federal funding after revelations it took more than $8 million for USAID and other government contracts. This funding bombshell was highlighted by X user NR Selden, who pointed out that the Politico published multiple articles related to Gamergate, consistently framing it as disinformation and harassment campaign while pushing narratives about diversity in gaming. A search for Gamergate and Politico returns 22 different articles. The revelation raises serious questions about whether taxpayer money was used to promote a political agenda within gaming journalism. Yeah, we've been saying that for a while. We've been saying that for a long time, and I'm going to give you evidence to that. I'm going to give you a lot of evidence. People have always wondered if our tax dollars are used to promote wokeness in video games, and the answer is yes. USA paid Politico millions per year to write pieces like this one, which promotes diversity and describes Gamergate as disinformation harassment campaign. During Wednesday's White House brief, Leavitt confirmed that Politico's taxpayer funding is being terminated immediately. I was made aware of funding from USaid to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. We've said the $8 million you received ends today. The Dodge team is canceling those payments. Dodge team, short for Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk. I love this. I really do. I'm not political, but I love these meme references. That's like epic. Dragon Master, hello. And has been tasked with eliminating wasteful spending in federal contracts. President Donald Trump commented this controversy on his Truth Social platform. It looks like billions of dollars have been stolen at USAID and other agencies, with much of it going to the fake news media as payoff for creating favorable stories about the Democrats. Trump said the left-wing outlet Politico appears to have received $8 million. Did the New York Times receive money? Who else did? This could be the biggest scandal of all, perhaps the biggest in history. The Democrats can't hide from this one. It's too big, too dirty. For years, Politico has aligned itself with activism gaming journalists who push woke narratives under the guise of combating toxicity. Their extensive coverage of Gamergate frames gamers as reactionary extremists rather than addressing the legitimate concerns about media corruption that sparked the controversy in the first place. Many of these narratives were driven by the same journalists who sought to rebrand gaming as a progressive battleground rather than an entertainment industry. Politico's financial ties to the government now raise concerns where these narratives were shaped, at least in part, by taxpayer-funded incentives. My theory is the media is going to try to cover their ass and say, yeah, but that's what we were told. That's what we were told to do with this money. And so that's what we did. Because, we needed the money, we needed this and that to pay for our fundings, and we were only allowed to do it if we followed these stipends. So, they're going to cover their ass. Mainstream media's government subsidiaries run deep. Let me put it this way. It's not on the paper, what I just said. It's my opinion. So, Politico isn't alone in taxpayer money, according to USA Spending.gov. Other media sites receiving government include the Associated Press, Reuters, New York Times. These revelations come at a time when Musk and the Trump administration are aggressively slashing wasteful federal spending. Even made it clear that taxpayers should not be funding media outlets that serve political interests rather than the public good. Before I continue on, I'm going to point out, when I was in college, and this was like before Trump was in office, I had to do, this was when Gamergate was in full swing. So back in 2014 and all that stuff, right? I pointed out that trust in the media back then in 2014 was on a decline for the past 10 years. People were having a strong lack of mistrust. So that's why they were desperate for this for this money. For one thing, is that they weren't getting money, and then capital venture or whatever it's called became a thing, right? But they were still receiving this money. So, Classic Cage, hello. Before we continue, let me go ahead and give everybody else here a shout out. I think a brutal show flows to show such as Dodge to reveal their dark secrets. Yes. I like deeper this, and Politico gets an increasing amount of money from USAID. Yep. Zard, hello. And just a reminder for people coming to chat, we are not a political channel. We're stating news as is. We do not take a side on DragonCast. And I'll explain why further in this video. All right. Then, where is she? I just saw her. Well, first, by the way, if you haven't, please give Furious Stan a follow. He needs followers. He's another gamer streamer, and a good friend of mine. I like watching his streams. He just got done with RoboCop recently. I forget the game he's doing now. It's been a chaotic week for me, but go give him a follow. And if you don't, Cult Classic Cage is, if you like big booty Latinas with milk, cake, and Kool-Aid, go follow Cult Classic Cage. He always offers free milk and Kool-Aid and free milk, cake, and Kool-Aid in every stream she does. All right. Okay, so let's continue on. The Trump administration is going line by line, whether it comes to the federal government books. She said anything that does not serve the interest of the American people will be cut. Political's week has already been turbulent just days before the funding scandal broke out. Semaphore reported the company had missed its latest payroll run, though it later claimed the issue was resolved. Now the loss of $8 million federal funding, the outlet faces an uncertain future. As for the gaming world, this revelation confirms what many suspected all along. Mainstream outlets pushing woke narratives were often backed by by the very institutions gamers sought to challenge. The day of taxpayer-funded media, propaganda, and gaming may finally come to an end. I do not think so. I do not think so. Thank you, broski. And oh yeah, she's also playing KCD too. So there's another thing. The cult flavor Kool-Aid, Frostbang, the cult flavor. But I'm gonna put this out here. Now, I don't always agree with Grums or Grooms, whichever you want to prefer it. I like saying Grooms because of someone that was talking about him. He pronounced his name as Grooms on a Hypnocast episode. So it just kind of stuck with me. But he's showing some screenshots of Politico and Gamergate. Like, you'll see all these yellows here. That's Gamergate. You see 2024, 2023, 2022, 2022, 2021, 2017, 2021. Right? So we've been knowing this. And I'm not going to read this whole Guardian thing because they like to give a lot of stuff. Like I said, I like to read a lot of sources because I'm apolitical, so I don't want to fall in a tribal mindset. But I want to come down here where it says if the Trump administration is successful here, they're going to try this everywhere else. Said Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey, a former USAID employee who came out in protest alongside fired and furloughed workers outside the agency headquarters on Monday. This is just the beginning. So people who want to say a conspiracy theory, let me point out that it says here, Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey, a former USAID employee. So one of the state representatives of New Jersey was a former USAID employee. All right. Here he is right here. I'm not going to say, don't go harassing him. I'm just saying, like, he's actually in here and he's got appropriations. He's basically a Democrat. So there's just that. I wanted to point that out there, that there is former USAID's employees in our state representation and our civics representation. They're everywhere. And they're what was kind of funny is like if they remove USAID, they're going to go everywhere else and remove the bloat, which is what he said he was going to do. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this is from Nick Monroe, Lobster Looker. He's been posting this in September 3rd. It's the whole Gamergate timeline and an autistic detail. Okay. It basically goes, a few years ago, I posted a comprehensive summary about Gamergate. It was an online movement that sparked widespread debate about ethical games journalism. Right? So I disavow the harassment or attacking anyone mentioned in the story for reasons the Gamergate is still a touchy subject for some. So basically, he just posts the whole autistic red string thing that Savvy does. So this is kind of like my thing as well. So but he talks about Zoe Quinn, ex-boyfriend, starting the whole situation. And then Zoe Quinn comes out. Long story short, the whole Texas racism in games. And he just keeps going on, okay? Cultural Marxism equals political correctness. All these things. And basically, the woke that they're talking about, the woke is a search for social justice, right? Social injustice. I'm just skipping through this so that way if you wanted to watch this or if you're watching a clip, you want to pause it, you can, all right? But I think as you can see, it's very detail oriented. I read it and I'm like, I can't make this in 2 hours. I can't read this whole thing in 2 hours. But for those who want to know about what the hell Gamergate is, he says in the conclusions that exist yet now, yes. Basically, we are what people call Gamergate 2.0. Like I personally believe that we're winning and we kind of won the main battle. But Hypnotic points out that no, we didn't because XYZ. But I disagree with that because you have Hypnotic out there, you have Cult Classic Cage, you have myself, people that are willing to go out there and report to games. Like, I'm not out there looking for politics in games. I'm looking out there for here's this game. I'm gonna call out the bullshit, right? Like, don't fuck with our game. But it's a great thing I wanted y'all to look at if y'all want to know more about Gamergate. But here's one thing I want to mention. So we have to be very careful, and I've been branded and smeared. I made a joke about that earlier in the podcast, but we have to be very careful with hearsay. Okay, we have to be very careful when someone's like, we see this thing right here, right? But we don't see everything, right? We're like, oh, well, technically there's feminist frequency. And people need to understand that we have leftists in our own communities that are coming out, like with Gamergate and stuff like that. People that are basically Kotaku, but using a different ideology to supply their moral outrage. So I wouldn't label this here because, like I said, I deep dive everything. You give me a source, I try to disprove that source. Why do I try to disprove that source? Because if I can't disprove it, it's true. If I can't find any evidence to support the contrary, to debunk it, it's true. So when you say, for example, Daniel Barber lie, and I ask you where's the lie, and you point to something, and I say, well, he didn't say that. Here's where he says he didn't say that. Then it's basically your field bills versus the evidence presented. Now, for example, someone posted this, right? And Niche Gamer came out. Now people say, oh, I don't want to listen to Niche Gamer. This and that. Okay, fine. You don't want to listen because of your tribe, right? But they said here, a post has been going around X, been accusing US, because people, when they hear fact check, they're thinking Facebook. But what do I do? What does Cult Classic Detail, what do all us YouTubers do when we see something come out? We call out the bullshit. We call out the facts. We give our opinions based on what is known for you to make your own decisions. Here it goes. A post going around X has been accusing U.S. government of bankrolling narrative consulting firm Sweet Baby Inc. and defunct feminist activist organization Feminist Frequency. Both organizations have come under fire over the years for alleged offenses ranging from corporate meddling regarding artists' freedom of expression to unapologetic calls for censorship. The post in question uses two sources to call out the alleged payments to Sweet Baby Inc. and Feminist Frequency, starting with Sweet Baby Inc. We'll give information from unaspecting.gov, an official government website with publicly available information. You can check out the two awards here. So we're going to do this live. We're doing this live. USspending.gov, right? So here we have, and I'll zoom in, awarding agency, the SBA, Small Business Association. And you see here, Sweet Baby Inc. Here's a problem though. Sweet Baby Inc. isn't located, the one that we're talking about, isn't located in the United States. They're in Canada. So let's click it and see what's going on. It's also a paycheck protection loan program. This is not nothing new. This is a loan that the SBA does give out to small businesses. Sweet Baby Inc. Here we go again. In 2019 to 2022, so basically during COVID. All right. But we're gonna continue on. Here's the other one. See, same thing. The two awards allegedly given to Sweet Baby Inc. are actually associated with an eyewear wholesaler, which lists as Sweet Baby Inc., but doing business as AJ Morgan. So let's go ahead and prove. Let's see if that proves. Up. U.S. custom records for Sweet Baby Inc. Eye Colors Eyewear, Optical. So this is an actual company with the same name as Sweet Baby. Sweet Baby Inc., right? But it's doing business at DBAG Morgan, located in Los Angeles. Sweet Baby, as we covered over the past 2 years, is a narrative consultancy firm based in Montreal, Canada. Even if it were Sweet Baby Inc., these awards weren't in any form of endorsement or grant, but were part of the Paycheck Protection Program under the CARES Act signed into law by President Donald Trump. So if you're going to say that there's a conspiracy, then you have to admit that Donald Trump, the President of the United States, is part of that conspiracy, which the tribe won't do, and I'm not saying he is. I'm saying, based on the data presented, there's no proof that the Sweet Baby Inc. eye care company is also Sweet Baby Inc. that we talk about. The second source is from Data Republican, a partisan website that consolidates charity funding data. In this case, while it's true that Feminist Frequency has received over $200K in contributions, only $6 of those are estimated to be provided by taxpayers. The remaining is effectively a result of private donors and other forms of income. We're doing that live. Here's Data Republican. Data Republican. EIN, Feminist Frequency, contributions total, government grants, 0, other cash contributions, indirect government money, $6, total tax dollars, percent of contributions, tax funded estimate. This is the Data Republican. Okay. So it sounds like Data Republican is a right-wing source. So either you call them a liar, or someone's not telling you the truth and jumped the gun, which we've seen a lot. Here's the people. This is back in 2021. I'm not going to read the article. This was their source. The Volver Digital landfall gains to match 15K of donations to Feminist Frequency. All right. So that's a good example of a lot of their donations. Government spending is under increased scrutiny following the recent presidential election. There's a lot to be critical and angry about without resorting to misrepresenting the facts. And that's the key warning here. As my title for my podcast says, this is the slow reveal of truth. Gamergate went on for over a decade before we finally got the proof we needed. Truth will always stand strong in the evidence of lies. And when you put a partisan lie because you want to be famous, like look at Edemion. Edemion posted an article that about this being banned, or about Kingdom Come Deliverance being banned, right? In Saudi Arabia, based on a PlayStation article, right? And in it, he's also talks about I forget his name, but he has a Gamergate hoodie on. He has a character profile pic drawn by Madam Savage. And he wanted his face known. And his whole argument, and Edemion's whole argument of why Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is woke, is because technically of BlackRock, and one of the investors came out in a gotcha moment that he told them to do so. Well, it turns out that person was a troll. This is why we have to be careful. I'm not defending Daniel Barbara. I'm saying I'm criticizing the evidence given to us. Because here what we see right here. If you're not careful with what you do, and I'm going to show another example. If you're not careful with what you do, you will discredit yourself. This is why you should always back check, no matter what your tribe is, right? So here's one thing I want to point out, because the post author deleted this. And I'm going to tell you the post author. It was Pirate Nation. He posted the same thing here, but he gave a link that I could click on, which is pretty much the same thing. So I clicked on it and I said, I think it did it wrong, because I wanted to give him a chance to defend himself, right? And say where like maybe he overlooked things, whatever. But instead of anything like that, he just deleted the thing. But I said, I think I did it wrong. When I clicked it, it sent me here. By Designer Eyeglasses Online, AG Morgan Eyewear. I got 1 like. 121 views. I did not attack him or anything else. I gave him a chance to come clean and fix this problem, because I don't want, people don't understand this. I don't want anyone on our side to be caught telling a lie. It's up to the community to go to people like myself, Hypnotic, when we say something wrong, to show proof of something wrong. This is proof of something wrong. Maybe he got the wrong address. Maybe he put the wrong numbers down. I wanted to give him proof about accusing him. So he took this down. All right. But it doesn't, well, I can give some more examples. I want to go into another, like here's what I get to do conspiracy and show why I don't take sides on politics. But I want to give another example. But before I do, I want to see what y'all are saying. Dragon Master says, we must remain vigilant because the lessons are not going down without a fight. And yes, and full disclosure, if you say you're a Republican, you're to the left of me. If you say you're a libertarian, you're to the left of me. If you say you support anarchy, and you basically, if you have a tribal affiliation that governs your politics, you're to the left of me. I claim no politician. I look at the candidate, right? And I keep my politics to myself. I do have my strong views in politics, and I try not to preach them here. Instead, I try to be fair and just in everything I do. So just about at the end, because the case where you're talking about here, I don't know. Okay, so I wish I can play games, but PS is being a bitch. This is why I don't have a PSN. I don't have a PlayStation. Last time I had a PlayStation, I think was PS2. Journalism. Oh, you thinking the PS was a hack? Okay, let's see. Freedom Fire 76. Hello. All right. So I want to talk about the United Nations. All right. Anyone who knows me IRL or know me before I started doing these podcasts will know that I have a strong, what's the right word? I have a strong adverse reaction to UN. But y'all know who these are, right? Okuseus points out, and I just saw this interesting, but he goes, just like back in the mid 2010s, these types can't take an L and move on. They have to escalate things to the highest possible level. Gamergate started with some disapproving comments and a gossip video from Mr. Mexico, and they literally took it all the way up to the UN. So and these are just, like, I make misogynist jokes on women a lot. I always do, right? I always do. And it's funny because Gamergate start a lot of these, like we talked about with the Gamergate, Satanic Panic, all these controversies over the past 100 years was usually women led. Prohibition, Gamergate, PMRC, all that, right? It started because of women, and these women were too prideful; they couldn't admit they were wrong, and they shamed people who were not believing them. And so people like, I don't want to be called a bad guy from World War II. I don't want to be called anything else. And I still don't have my soundboards because this would be a perfect time to quote Homer Simpson when Marge says, "This is the worst thing you've ever done. You said that so many times, it lost all meaning." So this is just a shot at them. And we're going to get into this one later. But I want to talk about the UN. So this is from the UN Dispatch. And it's Gamergate versus the United Nations. This was back in 2015. All right, you got what was going on in 2015? Well, do y'all remember what was going on in 2015? I'm not supporting a tribe or anything else. I'm just saying, do y'all know what was going on? All right, the next generation of conservative conspiracy theorists is raising the specter of a UN plot to control the internet. This time, conservative media are cheerleading trolling by agitators associated with the online harassment campaign against women in technology and feminist critics of the gaming culture, known by the hashtag Gamergate. The largest targets concerned to report of cyberviolence against women and girls under UN Broadband Commission for Digital Development, blah, 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 blah. So y'all can look this up yourself, right? And they call it, where's that? Where was it at? I lost my picture. But anyways, They were attacking us. All right. And why would you think that the UN would want to attack us? As gamers. Or rather, anyone. There are good reasons why we should be skeptical of governments, particularly of the authoritarian variety, using opaque intergovernmental processes, right? Advocates for human rights and after spent so much time for energy working for gender issues. IDF, International Gamers Forum, which are I believe that's the right acronym, I can't remember. But anyways, my point is, Internet Governance Forum. All right, so this is basically trying to justify policing the internet, right? But why would you think they want to police the internet? Why were we in Iraq? Now the common misconception is there's memes on it, right? And I joke about it too. But this country has oil. Sounds like it needs to be liberated because the US is always fighting for something, right? But food for oil scandal, Council on Foreign Relations. I don't normally talk politics, but I want to say this is why the UN has an interest in attacking gamers, and it backfired. All right. So when Anita Sarkeesian and all them brought us into it, all it was us autistically screaming, "Leave our games alone! Like, leave us alone. We don't care. You do it. You do you, boo. We don't care. You want to take over the world? Go ahead. I don't fucking care. Right? Just leave my games alone." And is this back in 2005? What is the controversy over the UN Oil for Food program? The Security Council started a program in 1996 to allow Iraq to sell enough oil to pay for food and other necessities for its population, which was suffering under strict UN sanctions imposed after the first Gulf War. But Saddam Hussein exploited the program, blah, 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 blah. According to 2004 Central Intelligence Agency investigation, there was illegal oil selling. What are the latest revelations? The committee, fifth and final 600, almost 700-page report. Let's go with that. There was lucrative contracts allowing him to pocket 1.8 billion at the expense of Iraqis suffering under the sanctions. Right. Long story, like, you can look this up yourself, but this is why, like, when you hear me talk about things, that's like, and I mentioned I didn't fight a U.S. war, I fought a goddamn UN war. This is why. All right, and I'm going to get into why this should matter for at least for Americans, without going fully into the politics. All right. The Office for Iraq Food of Oil Program gives you the timeline, right? And when you find out more about what the UN says they do and what history says they do, you find out that the UN seems to have an interest in not actually doing peace talks as opposed to ceasefire. Here again, the impact of the Council of Relations, right? So they found it. They found what happened. They took the following steps to do ethics. Also, the chairman of the UN for Oil program was also in on the scandal. Like, he was one of the ones doing that, right? Create a new whistleblower policy to provide staff to because so they can feel they can come forward with concerns. So they needed a new whistleblower program. Internal audits available to member states upon request, right? In the U.S., UN critics in the U.S. country have seized on the scandal to press for broad reforms. U.S. prosecutors have moved aggressively to charge both private businessmen and U.S.-based diplomats with wrongdoings in the case. The following is an overview of political and development response to the scandal. All right. So they said it was a larger contingent at FESBRO's oversight in the UN. So there's that. On the Senate side, the body investigated food for oil program included held a number of hearings on this scandal. The General Accountability Office and Congressional Watchdog Group issued a report saying the UN lacks an effective organizational structure for managing procurement, has not demonstrated a commitment to improving its procurement workforce, and has not adopted specific ethics guidance. Criminal developments. The U.S. Attorney the U.S. Attorney did another number of arrests. First person charged was an Iraqi-born citizen, Iraqi-born U.S. citizen, pleading guilty in 2005 of illegal lobbying for Iraq. 2 Texans, Oscar Wyatt and David Chalmers, are accused of paying illegal kickbacks to the Donald regime for secure oil contracts. 2 Russian citizens working in New York for the UN have also been arrested. Kuntsov, a former chairman of the UN Budget Advisory Committee, is charged with laundering hundreds of thousands of dollars in criminal proceedings. Yakulit pleaded guilty for bribery charges. All right. These are those UN Russians employees. Detained a Bulgarian, Ludmil Disla, for alleged involvement in illicit payments to Saddam's government, as well as Tong Sung Park, a South Korean, charged him with conspiring to act as an unregistered agent for Saddam when the Food for Oil program was created. All right. So that was a big issue. All right. That was a big issue. In fact, even Homeland Security added more. The OFO program was exploited by Saddam Hussein, an operation of independent jurisdictions retained by the UN in the OFF program, and examined its issues related to inadequate management, audit, and procurement oversight. The hearing also examined issues. So basically, what would have happened if the internet was policed by the UN? That's my argument. I'm not getting into politics, but that's my argument. You're having people that don't hold our values or your country's values deciding from other countries what your values should be. Right? As an American, I don't like that. So what would happen if they use gamers? What's the next scapegoat? Comic books, Christians, Muslims, atheists, you name it. They'll find some scapegoat and you can't question it because they'll control the internet. I mean, we're already seeing that with Google. And I know people are going to say, well, no, it's a U.S. thing. Well, okay. Operation Enduring Freedom, when we were supposed to go to Afghanistan, was in 2001, right? The Iraqi war started in 2003. And then they shut down the program in 2005. We were still fighting a war past then, but just to let y'all know, no one supported us in Operation Enduring Freedom until all of a sudden an anonymous source said that there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And all of a sudden we had a bunch of allies supporting us with the Iraqi war. All right. And here's the thing I want to point out. It's like they say war of terror and stuff. The Constitution grants Congress the sole power to declare war. Congress has declared war on 11 occasions, including the first declaration of war with Great Britain in 1812. Congress approved its last formal declaration of war in World War II. Since that time period, agreements and resolution authorized use of military force and shape military policy through operations and oversight. So, Korean War, Vietnam War, all these other wars that we've been going in, all these other conflicts, Bosnia, Serbia, the Panama Canal, Iraq, Gulf War, you name the war after World War II, they're not declared war. Most of them were for UN interests. And here's our wars. All right, for the 11 wars they're mentioning. They don't mention the Civil War, because that was a different thing. But our official declared wars, right? So, after World War II, count all the conflicts we've been in, and you tell me if the UN, if it was a good thing, and why you should be careful of who you vote for. Because regardless of what tribe you vote for, they will cover their own ass to keep power. Rio, hello. But that being said, I want to address another issue. the World Health Organization. All right. And the World Health Organization had a ruling on video game addicts could prevent mass shootings. So you know the age-old trope that has been tried so many times before, that video games causes violence, right? They've been beating this over the bush since as long as I can remember, right? Mortal Kombat being one of the reasons. And they can't do that here in America because that's free speech protections. This is from the Observer, and they're talking about the World Health Organization will include gaming disorder as part of its PROS International Classification of Diseases starting today. These draft guidelines state that the compulsive video game can lead to distress or significant impairment of functions. Right? So many of us have probably already heard about this. Right? I'm not going to read the whole thing because I just want to point these things out that they were always attacking gamers. So do these guys look like they have a gaming disorder? And before you say, "Oh, people I never heard of it," well, you should have. CNN even talked about it. Who classifies gaming disorder as a mental health condition? Why do you think they want to do that? I'm not going to say my opinions or anything. I'm not going to tell you what to think. But why are they trying to say that you can get addicted to video games? Don't get me wrong. That is very likely. But why do you think they're trying to call it a mental health disorder? All right. Don't believe me? Here it is. This is from their website, World Health Organization. All right. Who runs the World Health Organization right now? Go look that up. And I'm not doing conspiracies. I'm just telling you what's going on. Right? Gaming disorder is defined as level revision of natural class ID 11 as a pattern, behavior, digital gaming or video gaming, characterized by impaired control over gaming, increasing priority given to video games over activities to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other interests in daily activities. So, politics and video games, right? We say keep that out of our video games. It's our escape. So now they're going to argue. So now they can argue, well, you're an addict. We shouldn't take you seriously because the politics is in art. Politics is in everything. Okay. And I don't care what your politics are. You can believe Donald Trump is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You can believe that it was the elections was stolen and Kamala should be our president. I don't give a shit. Or you can say it for your own country. I don't give a shit. That's your personal belief. We're not here for that. All right. I want to make sure I'm just going to stress up for every video because I want people to understand we're not talking about politics. We're talking about people infusing their politics and their desire for power and control into games. This is a libertarian. I believe this is a libertarian magazine. Reason they also mention it. World Health Organization classified video games as a video game addiction, as a disorder. Now it's telling people to play video games. So when was this during? Oh, right. So how do you keep people inside? How can you keep people inside? Now, I want to say that my main therapy with PTSD is video games. And that's not my personal therapy. Like I was one of the test subjects on can therapy help with PTSD from the VA, the National Center of PTSD under the VA. I was one of the original test subjects. Or the early, I should say the early. I wouldn't say the original. Let me correct myself. One of the early ones. Back in the early 2000s. That's how long I've had PTSD. And to this day, I play video games and I report it. This is now my next thing was you should play multiplayer games or stream online and talk to people. Why do you think I have Lavistro Plays? I want to rebuild gaming, but it also helps me talk to people as well, be more sociable. All right. So, anyways, last year the World Health Organization organized officially classified video games as an addiction as a mental disorder. The classification is for people who demonstrate impaired ability control, but now much of the global economy is shuttered due to the pandemic, and health experts include issuing increasingly strenuous recommendations for people to avoid leaving the house. Who is encouraging people to stay at home and play video games. The initiative was to play a part together. All right. How many of us remember that? It's backed by a roll call of major industry players, including Activision, Blizzard, Riot Games, Unity Technologies, Amazon, Twitch, and YouTube Gaming. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? All right. There's nothing inherently contradictory about the WHO's messaging, but it does serve as a reminder that gaming has social and health benefits. Although video games have become far more popular in recent years, they are still sometimes subject to a cultural stigma, a perception they are time wasters at best, socially corrosive. You remember I mentioned this, right? A time waster, a money waster. During the Prohibition, people are quick to talk about alcohol being prohibited, but they never talk about the other parts of Prohibition. Arcade, like skee ball, pinball, billiards. Those original arcade games before video games came out were time wasters, and money wasters, as they would say. That to me has been launched as long to remember. The early 90s, they referring to Mortal Kombat, and to the continuing effort by politician pundits to tie acts real world bodies to play video games despite lack of evidence. All right, so we had this going on, right? So, and here's the World Health Organization again. I just want to point this out there. Can video games make us healthier? They say it. They're trying to say, gaming is a medical treatment. How long is the positive effects? And searches the secret ingredient. So now I think they changed their mind because they wanted to control the narrative, right? But I want to point to this, the National Library of Medicine. Scholars open debate paper on the WHO gaming disorder proposal. An open debate. Concerns about the problematic gaming behaviors deserve our full attention. However, we claim that it is far from clear that these problems can or should be attributed to a new disorder. The empirical basis for gaming disorder proposals, such as the new ICD-11, suffers from fundamental issues. Our main concerns are the low quality of research base, the fact that the current operational leans too heavily on substance use and gambling criteria, and the lack of consistency on symptomatology and assessment of problematic gaming. The act of formalizing this disorder, even as a proposal, has a negative medical, scientific, and public health, social, and human rights fallout that should be considered. Human rights fallout. So the World Health Organization, which is, from what I understand, part of the UN, has a human rights fallout as well. Of particular concern are moral panic around the harm of video gaming. They might result in premature application of diagnosis in the medical community and the treatment of abundant false positive cases. Does this sound familiar today? All right. Especially in children and adolescents. Second, the research will be locked into a confirmatory approach rather than an exploration of the boundaries of normal versus pathological. Third, the healthy majority of gamers will be affected negatively. We expect that the premature inclusion of gaming disorder as the diagnosis will cause significant stigma to the millions of children who play video games as part of normally healthy life. At this point, suggesting formal diagnosis in categories is premature. And it goes on. But so our main concerns are following the quality of research based slow. So cherry picking, right? You can look this up yourself. It leans to the evidence they use leads too heavily on drug use and gambling criteria. When you're gambling and using drugs, as opposed to playing World of Warcraft or Doom or Kingdom Come Deliverance. That's the latest flavor of the month for journalists. There's no consistency on the symptomology and assessment of problematic gaming. Right? Moral panics around the harm of video gaming might result in premature application of a clinical diagnosis and the treatment of abundant false positive cases, especially of children and adolescents. Moral panics. We're seeing that today on Twitter. Right? Majority of healthy gamers are affected by stigma and perhaps even changes in policy. So people will start making changes in policy. You can, like I said, you can read this for yourself if you want. It's a very heavy read. All right. But this is what I say when I deep dive everything. This is back in 2017. I deep dive shit. And I say these things because I never know when it will come in handy. Right. But I do want to point this out because we're going to mention it here soon. Take This has its own controversies, but they also defended against gamers, gaming and violence. I want to point that out here. Okay. Problem with the research, even among researchers, the effects of video games' behavior is far from settled science. Take this director noted that a lack of consensus among researchers with less than 10% agreeing that video games can less than 10% agree that video games contribute to real world violence. So that means 90% of the researchers disagree. Okay. So I just want to point that out there because I want to be fair and just and say, you know what, to be fair, even though Take This has its own controversies that we're going to get into, right? They did have some base comments. So let me see what everyone's saying here, because we went for a lot. I recognize some of these people have no words, but I'm processing all of this. Because I'll be putting these in clips. I would agree with Finch's here statement. If I could, I would have bulldozed the UN tomorrow. I would too. They cause more wars and more harm than good. Okay? People like say, oh, this, that. And I used to believe that too until I opened up a can of worms. That's why I'm no longer in politics. Because as you saw, both sides were attacking gamers. Both sides agreed to do the war. Both sides blame each other. No one has tried to take over the power. No one. No, so let me rephrase that. No one has tried to remove that power to say, "Hey, we got to vote for these things," right? So, and then again, hello Rio. Give you a special shout out. I don't want to. Cell phones, I'm not going to deal with because cell phones is not part of the gaming news, even though there's mobile games. That's different. History speaks for itself. Yep. Up to you to make your mind. Yep. I agree. I have a great problem with trusting anything that who says. Well, I think it's because we're older, Scott. I mean, you're older than me. I mean, based on your age, what you told me. Morals, those aren't those personal? Well, yes and no, right? So we all agree that stealing is wrong. We all agree that unaliving people in Minecraft, so to speak, is wrong, right? And then you have your personal beliefs. Like you could believe, for example, I'm not saying you do, but just for example, that homosexuality is okay. And then someone else can say homosexuality is a perversion of nature and therefore immoral and an abomination of the sciences. Someone else can say homosexuality is against my religious beliefs, and therefore it's my God, Allah, Buddha, whoever says it's wrong, because most religions also agree on that one. So how do you deal with those morals? Well, we have a set here in America. We have a set sense of principles. We call it life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So when you unpack life, liberty, and pursuit of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, it goes like this: pursuit of happiness. All had the right to the fruit of their labors, gifts or trade, as long as it doesn't violate unforced and uncoerced, as long as it doesn't violate the first two rights. Second right being liberty. All had the right to express themselves unforced and without coercion, as long as it doesn't violate the first. So these first two, right? You have the right to everything that you receive, what you buy, you have a right to. What you do with your life, you know, like if you earn a paycheck, you have a right to it, right? That's your natural rights. The food that you eat, everything that you have, you have a right. Right to expression. You have a right to believe in homosexuality. You have a right to believe in a God. You have a right to believe in all things, and no one can force you in those rights. As long as those two rights don't violate the number one right, the right to life. All have the right to live. Only murderers forfeit that right. Because when you take a life, except that obviously in self-defense, because there's nuances, right? When you take a life, you're depriving someone of the only right that can't be returned. Therefore, the life or the life situation, right? So when you deprive someone's right to live, when you enslave them, when you force yourself upon them, when they can't consent to something, you have taken their life away. You have taken their rights to express themselves away. You have taken everything away. For example, children can't consent, animals can't consent, right? In the nature that we're going to. So people like to use that moral high ground because it's such a taboo, and I'm not defending that concept because I say wood chipper. I've always been consistent. But people like to use that so you can't question their debate. You cannot argue their moral authority. Right? So, that being said, speaking of wood chippers and stuff like that, I want to get into the USaid real quick. So here it is. This is that document from earlier. And I'm only bringing this up because y'all see this. This is on an official USaid legal right? This is from the American Legal Foundation. The Disinformation Primer, Center for Excellence on Democracy, Human Rights, and Governance Primer, February 2021, USaid from the American people. But this, y'all know what this is. The raised fist, right? So, anyways, we're going to come back to that. But there's some highlighted points in here. For example, that's going to be financial support found in the ad tech space. Right? Because traditional information systems are failing, some opinion leaders are casting doubt on media, which in turn impacts USaid programming and funding choices. So because people are questioning traditional media, right? For example, and they're going to YouTubers, it hurts USaid. So they're going to invest in things to make sure that they keep getting their money from taxpayers to keep going, and they're going to pay journalists to do so. That's what I'm reading here. You can take whatever you want from it, right? So, like, you can find this anywhere, but here's what they say is 10 types of misinformation. False connections, satire, parody. So jokes, you can't joke because that's misinformation, propaganda. So they're telling half-truths. Problem information more regularly originates from networks of alternative sites and anonymous individuals who created their own alternative media online spaces. What did I just say? Reddit, 4chan, or Discord, conspiracy news sites, and gaming sites, according to Elliot Higgins. Interpretations of the world that differ from mainstream sources. How dare you have an alternative view than what I told you to do? Right? Are we not seeing this? I'm going to show you an example of this later on in the video. If it's on a clip, yes, I'm going to cut it in here. Give you an idea. So, interpretations of world based sources, populist expertise, blah, blah, blah. But, I accidentally clicked the link. Okay, good. But going back here to the socialist fist, that's what it is. It's the raised fist. All right. This is in Britain, but this is they call it the People's History Museum. The raised fist, the history of the symbol. Right. The raised fist regulation as a political symbol is used by different people in context historically and up to present day, symbolized resistance to oppression. The history of the raised fist demonstrates how significantly visual symbols have been. Blah, 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 blah. Right? But where's it at? Here we go. The origin of the raised fist as a popular democratic symbol appears to be with the international labor movement of the early 20th century. However, the exact origin of the symbol is not completely clear. Trade unions and socialist and communist parties used the raised fist. It was also adopted by anti-fascist movements between world wars and Pan-Africa, blah, 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 right? Movements include the Black Power, women's liberation, and gay liberation. Right? But let's look at this one here. So I'm a history buff. the international labor movement. Now, normally I don't use Wikipedia, but I'm using this for context. And I think, depending on how you use it, you could still look it up. But this is Wikipedia. All right. The labor movement is a collective organization of working people to further their shared political and economic interests. Right. Blah, 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 blah. Right. The labor movement developed as a response to capitalism and industrial revolution. Socialism, right, blah, 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 blah. But where's it at here? I think I gotta type it in because I just lost it. Because I can't see it. There we go. Worldwide. The International Workmen's Association, the first attempt to an international coordination, was founded in London in 1864. The major issues of the right of workers to organize themselves, blah, 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 blah. You can learn about this yourself, but we're going to, here it is. The International Workmen's Association, IWA, often called First International, was a political international which aimed at a variety of different left-wing, socialist, social democratic, communist, and anarchist groups and trade unions. So when you hear me say people who claim they're libertarians aren't libertarians, this is why. Because the libertarians we know, the LP, the Libertarian Party, comes from was it Daniel Nolan, right? And Rothbard, a historical revisionist as well. And they created that right version of libertarianism that even Ayn Rand said that's not libertarianism because it's anarchist. When I heard that quote, I decided to look it up. That's how I learned about this, right? So back then there was different socialists, not just Marxism. Right? There's different types of socialists. But this is from the Marx Engels work. This is from Marxist.org. The International Workingmen's Association, First International, documents and writing, letter from Marx to Engels, images, original notice of meeting, membership form, Engels membership card. So they were in this. This is where the fist comes from. And there are different classes of socialism. Want more proof? This is from the socialist viewpoint. Injustice, inequality of wealth, labor unions. So all those things like unionizing the game developers, social inequity, all that other stuff. This is where it comes from. So it's not just Marxist as well, but you have a source. Here's another example of the fist being raised. Communist, right? This is also Marxist.org. Leon Trotsky's fashion because Hitler also did it. Right? Liberals and even here, like they say, liberals and even most who consider themselves Marxists are guilty of using the word fascist very loosely today, right? But the thing is, they all mention the rise of the fist. Right? So you can look this up. I don't know how much I can say on this without getting myself in trouble. So, like, you can say, oh, I'm being conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy theorist. No, I'm telling you where it's all through history, where it's all related. That's why we see, for example, people acting like fascists, but saying they're communists. And we're like, they're all the same. This is why we sing all this stuff, because they're going to use good sounding arguments to make themselves sound good, right? So be careful when you hear someone say USAID for the American people, we give to the poor, we do this altruistic stuff, and we're all about democracy and human rights and government. This is why I agree with Plato and Socrates. I think it was Socrates. I can't remember. One of the Greek philosophers was poisoned because he hated the Republic. And within Plato's The Republic. Because democracy is mob rule. The Republic is the rule of law. No one is above the law. However, people have tried to create democracy out of the Republic. They say, oh, we're a democratic republic. No, we're a republic. We're a constitutional republic, a rule of law. We have a written charter that's almost impossible to change. Right? So I'm going to, because we got a lot to do, but we're doing good on time. So I want to come back up here and see what y'all are saying. 100% freedom. Yes, in fact, let me get this thing out so people can read these things. There we go. So now people can read. Death and taxes are only promised. Morals. Ooh, why does this one keep doing this? I keep fixing this. Morals as a term is so ruthlessly used nowadays, especially when talking about religion. I can't trust anyone in political asserting morals. Exactly. As a justification for regulation on writing laws. Yes, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. Because you can have a moral belief, like we discussed. And that moral belief can cause so much harm. For example, women did not like their husbands drinking, right? And so they managed to cause a movement and shame people for saying they should be able to drink. And they're like, well, think about the children. And my husband died for drinking too much alcohol. All this stuff, right? And then you had simps white knighting these people. And most of these women were rich white women. Rich white women, all right? Because let's be honest here. You could say, oh, you're attacking white people. No, I'm not. Wake up and smell the roses. Most of the wealthy people in America in the 1920s were white people. There was a few exemptions, but not the rule. For example, one of the first black billionaires got her fortune from selling hairnets and stuff, right? I forget her name, but she was from that time. That stuff, but she was the exception, not the rule. Most women during that time period were white. They were bored. They had nothing better to do. So they decided to attack anybody that was drinking because of a moral outrage. Right? So we all know what happened. There's many flavors of social, because yeah, there's many schools, and they all start from the French Revolution, believe it or not. Right? People need to understand that historically there was two types of enlightenment, two schools of enlightenment. You had the French Revolution, right? Which is why the founders, they were supporting the French. They found out what they were doing. They're like, oh, no. The French Revolution was a progressive reaction to things that were coming. They weren't trying to reclaim their rights. They weren't trying to set things right. They decided to discard their government and create a new government. The American Revolution what is considered to be a conservative reaction. All right. And by conservative, I don't mean Republicans or anything like that. I mean, they sought to preserve the ideals and land from which they hold value. They were loyal British citizens until King George's response to the Olive Branch petition. And in that response, right before that response, in the 1698 Bill of Rights, they were afforded a lot of liberty, including the right to own a gun, this and that. They they wanted to be treated like British citizens, but since they were colonists, the king used as an excuse to say, "Oh, you're not human enough, you're not equal enough in rights to be considered British." He tried to use his authority for power. We've all seen through history what that does. So socialism comes from this, and people have tried to use the French philosophers as saying, "Oh, yeah, the founders were inspired by French philosophers." Well, to paraphrase Thomas Jefferson, he actually said this, and I know I'm not going to say it verbatim correctly, but he said that he was talking about the works of the French philosophers. One of the French philosophers, he says that those texts are fit for the brawls and drunkards of taverns and inns, not for the educated American. He found it inferior. He did not want it taught in schools because he found it inferior. All right. So that just tells you about the French or nation. Were they all bad? No, but so I've been saying this for us to keep saying mod democracy bullshit is the lie. Yes, that's the thing, Scott. I if I would have known we would have had this conversation, I would have brought up something. There's a CNN article that says that they try to spin it to where it's just right wingers and Republicans and MAGA, but the actual study shows back in 2018 across all generations and all political leanings, most people have a poor, 60% of America have a poor civics education. They don't know their rights. White women with lots of money, yeah. So, that being said, let's go ahead and do Department of Homeland Security. All right. So, I came across this tweet a while back, and Department of Homeland Security funded Take This just to put out a document demanding that game companies denounce Gamergate 2. And if y'all remember, Gamergate 2 started last year, right? It was the Brutus Rambo, if I remember correctly, posted his takes on Sweet Baby Inc., right? Injecting their politics into games. Right, he was saying, okay, we know that they did this with Starfield. So he started making a list, curating a list, and then Mike Keefs. Does anyone remember that guy's name? The guy that went after him, and he was a Sweet Baby Inc. employee. I can't remember his name. It's like something Keef, or I don't want to get the wrong person. I don't want to name the wrong person. If someone remembers that, let me know, and I'll highlight what I'm talking. But he tried to get him shut down, and it started Gamergate 2. This is where we start seeing Alyssa Mercante at Kotaku, and now we had rising stars like Savvy, right? Everyone knows Savvy with her autistic board, detailing Gamergate 2.0. You have Hypnotic coming out, booming. That's when I became around that time. It was shortly after I became a mod for him. It was starting to boom. You had Smash JT coming out with his, and now he's having a lawsuit with Alyssa Mercante going on, right? All these new generation of YouTubers coming out, right? So it was causing a problem, and this is, I forgot to scroll up, but I wanted to. This is the Homeland Security Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grantee results. So these are the people who received money, taxpayer money, to combat targeted violence and terrorism, prevent these things from happening. All right, I'm not going to go into all these. Right? You can go look for yourself. Like, for example, Global Peace Foundation. I wonder why that's there, right? What did they do? But they have to tell you One World Strong. Like, they have to tell you what they do with the grant. Take this. Take This has an increased extremism in games primer. It's a resource to help understand how extremists exploit games to spread their message. The primer is intended for the gaming industry, policymakers, and non-academic audiences. It explains how extremists use games to radicalize and recruit. Oh no, we recruit people. We have a secret organization. We organize and go into the basement and worship Satan and all that stuff. Basically, another version of Satanic Panic. We're gonna rise up. The South will rise again. Right? All that stupid bullshit. The primer is not exhaustive, but gives an introduction to terms and processes discussed in this area of research. Before I go into this, right, that we were talking about, I want to give a special shout out. I want to give a special shout out here because no one talks about it. I Thrive Games. All right, here's National Esports Honors. We'll talk about this real quick so y'all know, but I didn't go further into it. This page provides a high-level overview of the National Esports Honor Society, serves as the program's central hub. The National Esports Honor Society is an out-of-school time add-on program for collegiate esports programs focusing on media information literacy, peer, blah, 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 right? So remember that. Information literacy, media and information literacy. I want you to remember that. Okay. And for those watching the clip, you should look into my video coming out as well about the U.S. Embassy in Hungary. And I think I'll probably title it Cat Park. Look for that. So anyways, I Thrive Games, everyone. Terrorism, extremism, and counterterrorism. Extremists and terrorist actors increasingly target adolescent communities for recruitment, still prevention, and counter extreme violence extremism. Programs fall short of accurately addressing the needs of this audience, and high schools across the United States are unequipped to contend with these excellent challenge. With funding provided through the Department of Homeland Security, right? Through iDrive Games co-design approach with empower teams with subject matter experts, empower teams as subject matter experts to support their voice, design thinking agency will produce its target audience in high schools and end role simulations. A game hosted on the iDrive Sim platform accompanying circular experiences will help adolescents recognize the signs of potential grooming and exploitation by extremist actors, under the harms to civil society by extremist and terrorist radicalization, comprehend the impact of offensive, racially charged, violent, and hateful comedy and satire. So basically what they consider hate speech, which there is no legal definition of hate speech according to the American Library Association. Build awareness of the image for extremist recruitment in communities and resist extremist influence in online and physical communities. All right, so you can go look this up as well. I mean, all you have to do is type in I Thrive Games, Homeland Security, Middlesbury DHS game to be announced. Oh, all right. So, what do you think Elon Musk will come into this, right? Here's your services. How can I create a meaningful game, tool, or experience for teens? Games that turn programming seriously and research into impactful play, learning experiences, tool exposition programs. All right. So they weren't jumping when they say they come for our kids, but we're the ones that are crazy when we say leave our games out of your bullshit. But here we go. Responding to Gamergate by Take This, March 11th, 2024. So last year, or Gamergate 2, right? Expert content, announcement, support. If you're reading this, you've probably been hearing why it's now being called Gamergate 2. It's the latest targeted harassment within the gaming industry, and it's aimed at Sweet Baby Inc. To be fair, they started it. All right, they started it. We came in our side's defense. Discourse, theme, and X have been the predominant factors. What also happened in 2024? Y'all remember what happened in 2024? Or actually late 2023? So they're a little salty on that one. Large-scale harassment campaigns like these are fueled by political events. The political rhetoric heats up in the U.S. presidential later this year. Blah, 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 blah. So they're already talking about the U.S. presidential election. Scholars and journalists noted the trucker harassment, hate, cultural norm, blah, blah, blah. The heart of Gamergate in the mid-2010s never went away. Yeah, because we're still fighting it. In fact, research conducted by Take This has outlined an entire spectrum of typology of extremism and dark participation in games. Extremism, dark participation. Why does that have to be dark? I thought black was okay. I thought black was like the good guys, right? So wouldn't it be light participation, right? Light. Because dark is good, light is bad. Why would you say dark? Because dark, when I think dark, I'm thinking you're talking about black gamers. I'm not being stupid here. I'm actually saying when I read dark participation and you're talking about games, I'm thinking about non-white gamers. So I'm like, why are you doing this? Maybe that's a poor choice of words. I know you mean something else. It can be scary or uncomfortable to think about it or to talk about it and to understand. No, it's not scary. We've been talking about it on Twitter. They already acknowledge it's already being talked about. Right? So they made this whole smear piece, right? But yeah, so there's another example of taxpayer funders money. They started in their own terms, violated the first people by making a list of gamers to attack. Yes, and what's coming out now? The Gen 2 of Wokies are making lists now. They're making lists of people to attack. They're making lists of games they do not like if they do not fit their moral standards and their ideology. We're looking for the best C2 go to players. I don't get it. I think you're referring to the earlier conversation we were talking about, but I don't get it. Our world is real. We're pushing hard. Blah 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 blah. Right. So, hate speech is truly astounding. People say I don't call me a nut yeah, they've been calling us a nut for a while, Cesar. Right. I'm trying to wrap this up because we got 30 minutes, and I want to give you guys some good news. I don't want everything that it has to be like it's a conspiracy, and I don't want to sound like Alex Jones, the Dragon here. They're making the games are making our players gay. I always wanted to say that. So, next on the agenda, I always have an agenda, right? I want to talk about Cat Park. Yeah. So, this is U.S. Embassy in Hungary. This is the U.S. Embassy viewer, right? This is a U.S. federal government building that is technically U.S. soil within a foreign country. This is basically them representing American interests, your interests in Hungary, right? Like if we had to have for example, to give an example, if we have a trade dispute in Hungary that we need to talk to the government about, right? The U.S. ambassador will talk to Hungary's ambassador and say, "Hey, you had this law and it's causing us problems. And if we can't resolve this, we have to stop the trade. It's going to hurt everybody. Or if we have a disagreement that could lead to a war or stuff like that. Or if you have an American that gets lost in Hungary, blah 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 blah." Yes, but there's always going to be people that can't stand the truth, and they're going to think I'm being Alex Jones. So I like to make those jokes. I really do. I'm not into politics, but I like to make the jokes. People accused, I got accused of being a conservative GOP, and I hate to tell that. But I hate to tell you this, but I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat either, and I'm not a Libertarian. I ascribe to no party. I actually hate being referred to as a partisan member, because I've seen what that does throughout history. All right. But going back to, like I said about U.S. Embassy, right? They work things out. So we know what the embassy is supposed to be. But we see this thing about Cat Park, and I bet you guys are wondering, what the fuck is Cat Park? In this fun 20-minute game, students have to craft sensational headlines, memes, and manipulate media to shut down the development of a local park. The goal of the game is to help students develop their skills in critical thinking and recognize online manipulation techniques more effectively. Before and after the game, embassy colleagues will offer an introductory debriefing session and will discuss the importance of recognizing fake news. They're teaching Hungarians this, right? I bumped into this. I just accidentally bumped into this, so I was looking for something. This was an accidental thing. All right. Cat Park is only available in English. Number of players, no restrictions for age group 12 and up. Basically, this right here, it's almost like a high concept. Okay. This is from americanspaces.state.gov. Digital campaign toolkit. Cat Park. A seriously fun game to counter disinformation, to control the narrative. To encourage gameplay and adoption of Cat Park, the Global Engagement Center, and this is good. I want y'all to remember this. Global Engagement Center prepared this digital campaign toolkit to help missions. All right. Media literacy and disinformation, pre-bunking, mis and disinformation. Right. Video games and media literacy. Cat Park is the second video game initiative. The second video game initiative from GEC, following up on the success of Harmony Square in the late 2020. This is basically to combat the COVID's, the Kufe, whatever shit, COVID, Kufe, whatever, that thing, the pandemic, politics. I don't get into that. I don't really give a shit. Everyone's entitled to their own belief on that one. The water is so muddied, it's hard for me to find information and factualize it. So I gave up. So I don't know what's true anymore on that one. I just like, you know what? And this is the people that are pro-vaccine hate about me. It's like, you know what? The water is so muddy. You're asking me to put a permanent medical procedure into my body and my son's body, and I can't confirm what you're saying is true or not. Therefore, I'm not going to do it until I have proof that it's safe. And the best way I'm going to know that is if there's time, you know, this is where I criticized Donald Trump on it. It was rushed. All right. And we had the flu shots. We have all these other vaccines that came out that you have to get boosters for. And I'm very suspicious of Big Pharma because they want more money. All right. So you can't tell me. Here's what you're going to tell me. You're going to tell me either it's too complex, right? So I'm going to say, well, you can't tell me it's too complex with the modern sciences that we have today. So either your scientists and researchers are stupid, or you want more money. You want to fleece you want to turn your customers into a golden goose. Yes. So I tell people when they ask me about what I think, I say, go see your doctor. I didn't go to med school. You know what my doctor told me? I'll tell you what my doctor, not my VA doctor, my doctor told me. He said my conditions are so severe, if I took them, except for one, there was only one, but it was too far away. I couldn't go get it until later on. It could adversely affect me. It could really permanently injure me again. So I'd have more disabilities. And so he said, you need to take this other one. I forget what it's called. It was like starts with an M or something. I can't remember. And I was going to go take it. And Biden said on the radio, I'm losing my patience. He wasn't just talking to me. He was talking to American people. I was like, oh, the president of the United States, the person who's in the most powerful office in the world and is considered the leader of the free world, that person is telling us he's losing patience. But this is UNESCO. See, there's UNESCO Global Media Information. So it's all connected with the UN, right? This is the people who made Cat Park. Okay? You'll see this on my thumbnail, right? Cat Park is based on active inoculation theory pioneered by University of Cambridge, right? You can look this all up. But the game was developed in collaboration with the U.S. Department of State's Global Engagement Center and University of Cambridge. All right? Building media literacy skills. This is screenshots of Cat Park. All right? How to inoculate against blah, blah, blah. Building misinformation. In recent years, there's been growing literature on the effectiveness of gamification of inoculation against misinformation. So they want to use games as a weapon, as a political weapon. Women can play a crucial role in softening and mainstreaming the far right's appearance to the general population, despite being less visible on the front lines of radical or extremist events. Right? So I believe both characters you meet are females. Right? So let's just show you what that is. Here, you can, if y'all want to look this up yourself, just type in catpark.game. All right. The truth has whiskers. Welcome to Cat Park. Sun's golden. Bad news, sad news, right? So it's basically a visual novel. right? I'm not going to go through it. You can play it yourself, okay? All right. We're just going to, because if you say no, you're not going to be able to go for it. Like, you click here, and it starts here. She's a pretty white woman, right? She's a pretty white woman. And she's acting a little unhinged. But, so remember what they're saying, right? The Global Engagement Center, GEC. Guess what happened to them? Termination of the State Department's Global Engagement Center, December 26, 2024. Legislative authority for the state's global GEC, which carries out activities under foreign dissemination propaganda and coordinates relative interagency efforts, terminated on December 23rd, 2024. In 2024, Congress declined to enact several proposals to extend GEC's mandate. Prior to termination, the GEC has been the subject of criticism by some members of Congress for its connection to partner organizations accused of restricting free speech on digital platforms in the United States. In March 16, President Barack Obama directed the Secretary of State to establish a GEC by executive order. All right. They shut them down before Donald Trump came into office. Well, I wonder, and this is where I sound like a conspiracy nut. What are they hiding? This is their archived website. You can find it. Core mission to direct, lead, synchronize, integrate, and coordinate efforts of the federal government to recognize, understand, expose, and counter foreign state and non-state propaganda and disinformation efforts aimed at undermining or influencing the policy, security, or stability of the United States, its allies, partners, nations. The Ministry of Truth, ladies and gentlemen. But you know what's even scarier? Here's their logo, the GEC, right? The Global Engagement Center, Twitter files by Matt Taibbi, number 17. So you can go look this up. Go Google it. Matt Taibbi, March 2, 23rd. And it talks about the GEC's in, association, right? So not only is it a Gamergate thing, but it's a Twitter files thing. So you can see there's more, and it's like it's all interconnected, right? It's all interconnected. I'm making a mocking Alex Jones voice because it sounds like I'm crazy. So let me see here. Yeah, good. I think we're gonna make it on time. And yeah. So they used that, and it was a visual novel, and to combat the conspiracy theories, and it was because well, I'll put it in here because I don't like them either, and I do want to mention it as well because it goes with my narrative. Going back to the ResearchGate about Cat Park introduction, this article explores two QAnon subgroups that were not active during the initial phase of movement, but now emphasizes how QAnon has capitalized on social media to reach more people. All right, so QAnon, in my view, literally did a number on Donald Trump's 2020 elections. All right, they were hunting things that weren't there. Everything was this, everything was that, and we're seeing that today now because they were using like Pizzagate theories. Now, I'm not saying that some things aren't true, but there are some things that are outrageous. Like, for example, Epstein's Island was built on the skulls of dead children. Was one meme that came out and that got debunked, right? And we just saw an example of a debunked narrative about feminist frequency, right? And Sweet Baby Inc. That was not true, but other things were true. This is why I say I'm giving you a trade-off. Here's what was false. Here's what is true, right? And I give you these are like, if you actually do dig deep and you're not being lazy, you can find evidence of the government interfering in our games, right? Interfering in our games. Rand Paul was a video game investigation in the origin and bad actors holding office. Yeah. See, I think I know who you're talking about. You're talking about Ron Paul's son. And I have mixed views on him. He doesn't represent my state, so I don't know too much. Like I said, I don't get into politics. He says some base things, and then sometimes he's wishy-washy. All right. So that's what I wanted to show on Cat Park. I shared that with Hypnotic back in September, as well as the Common Nerd. I don't know if they ever covered it, but I showed it in September last year because when I found out, I was like, holy shit. But just something I wanted to point out. And going back to pedo bears and stuff, I want to, and I know people that are supporters of these people. I want to point out the new generation of Kotaku journalists. And I'm not doing this to defend Daniel Barbara. I am pointing out the similarities, right? I want proof. You fail to give me proof, that's on you. Like, you failed to get me to vote for your tribe, that's on you. That's not on me. I will go out of my way to vote if I'm compelled. If I'm not compelled, that's on you. Right? If you're compelled to vote and you want me to vote for your tribe, then you need to tell me why that member of your tribe, that representation of your tribe, has my best interest at heart. Because otherwise, when I don't vote, and I said this before, when I don't vote, it's not that I don't have a voice. I stated my voice. No tribe member that's on that ticket that I got to vote for, I feel represents me, represents anything I have. And so when someone says that, they are a partisan. If you don't do this, the Democrats will win. If you don't say this, if you don't vote for this, the Republicans will win. If you don't say this, wokeism will run rapid in the streets. That's called fear. That's a fear tactic. You're trying to shame me through fear. You know what? I know some people don't believe in God, but I believe in an all-powerful, imaginary God. All right? I do. And my logic is, if that all-powerful, imaginary God who controls time, space, matter, and is outside of all that, and is omnipotent and all-powerful, all that lovely stuff, right? Then that means if he wants Joe Biden to be president, he wants Joe Biden to be president, because before he gave the Israelites King David and Solomon, he gave them King Saul, and King Saul was a tyrant. You know, so he wants what he wants. I just have to stay on the side of truth. So here we have Razor Fist, right? And I know I don't really want to cover Gamergate too much, but I'm using this to point out Kotaku and all this other stuff, right? He goes, why did you violate your own canon, though? And he's talking to Daniel Barbara, right? Daniel, and the thing they're talking about, before I mention Daniel Barbara, the reason I say he's not lying, is Warhorse Studios. All right, this famous tweet. We had some kind of same-sex romance, or even any kind of romance. This was 8 years ago for Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. Same-sex romance. No, you will play as Henry, the son of a black miss from Silver Scalus. He's not a homosexual. He's the son of black, so he's straight, and he's from France. Right? Like, this is only they only have part of it. Like, what I can do. He's straight and white and male from Bohemia, right? He plays a Christian person, even if you are Muslim, Hindu, atheist, or Jedi, right? So this was the community manager, right? And so Daniel Barbara said, let me tell you a secret. I wasn't a community manager 8 years ago. I'm not saying, and just so y'all know, I'm not defending Daniel Barbara's actions. All right. I'm showing why I don't believe half these things where people say Daniel Barbara's lying, because this is what they point me to. Let me tell you a secret. I was a community manager 8 years ago. Our canon, quote unquote, is not told for our forum, but for the actual story of the game. Sexual preference is purely decisions. You press the buttons, except the orgy with a priest and his concubines in the barn. So, that being said, I've already put out tirelessly that the gay gene is debunked, and that there is a virgin achievement, so you can go through the whole game as long as you don't have this encounter, right? So this encounter, you kind of do press the buttons, but they warn you ahead of time that this is going to happen, right? So that when he drinks, he gets out of control, he gambles, he has concubines, all that stuff. So you have a way to say, when he says, you want to hang out with me tonight? He goes, you can say no, right? And you can have that virgin achievement, right? Which go into the argument that Henry is canonically gay if you so choose. That's your Henry, right? That's your Henry. That's what he's saying. That's your Henry. That there's the canon of the story, the main storyline, and everything else is your options, your choices of how you react to that canon as Henry, right? And he goes, you should hire that community manager back to right. So people are so obsessed with the gay shit, right? And then they try to establish that. Like, if you watch my streams for KCD2, right, we've already debunked this. This does not happen. They actually took his clothes off for the combat. And then they changed it and say, do you think we're going to fight with our cocks or something, right? That's it. That's someone altering and lying, doing misinformation, right? To promote a narrative, right? They accuse us of doing this, but they're the ones that, this is the new generation, right? Like, remember how Kotaku would say, there's this person was sexist, or remember how they would attack Mark Kearns or Grooms about the breast, was it the breast milk scandal? It was something about milk, right? That was Mark Kearns, right? And it turned out to be false, right? And they kept harping on the gays, right? It's the biggest insult to gamers. Here's how it went down, right? And he got community noted. This situation is part of one optional quest. It wasn't forced. It's not woke. It's not forced, right? So they couldn't do this. So then here's from Pirate Nation. They did this. Steam has started to ban negative Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 reviews. I've already done a video on this, all right? Because Hypnotic covered this as well, and I said, Hypnotic, you forgot something, because no one's reading. They just see this part, but they're not bothering to read the fine print. They jump the gun. This is what is dangerous. You jump the gun because you're trusting your tribal members. There's a Bible verse as a Christian I've mentioned many times. Test everything. Hold what is true. I tested this. Okay? He goes, here's the link I thought was fake. Right? And people came in and attacked me about it. And I told him, I said, dude, only played like 6 minutes of the game. That's barely from start to pass. Like, he probably didn't even get to pass. Ergo, a review bomb which violates Steam server service got removed. All right? But Hypnotic, I have a work relation. I mean, one of his mods, right? So he gave me credit for this. So after looking into it some more with help of my mod Lavistro, it seems the review everyone is sharing that got banned from Steam got banned not because of the mention of gay, but because it encouraged piracy of the game itself, which is heavily against the TOS of Steam. Also, I love how this review is angry over the game featuring a gay Henry, but it's okay with gay Henry as long as he can get it for free. So, is gay okay if it's free now or maybe discounted? His criticism over Daniel Vavra was spot on, though. Not going to argue it, right? He can argue whatever he wants. I'm not defending Daniel Vavra because I said, yeah, there's some cases where I arc an eyebrow. That's why I'm reviewing a game on the merits. If anyone has any other reviews being banned, please let me know, right? So here's the thing, and I put in there, and I sent it to him, I highlighted it. I'll be sailing the high seas on this one. TOS, encouraging or engaging in piracy or theft. I didn't care that they posted this. I wanted them to post the right one. I actually, in my video, I even showed, I say, here's the DIE one that was not removed. Here's the DIE one that was not removed. Here's the DIE one that's not removed. Here's a negative review that's not removed. Here's one that's not removed. Here's one that's not removed. I was proving truth to form over 1,000 negative reviews in my video. I didn't review all of them, but I showed in the top page for negative reviews, you will see people giving negative reviews for DIE. So, and they all talk about the game. This one did not talk about the game. It was only 6 minutes long, and it said this. So, what do I know? Cult Classic Cage shout out as well. All these hate-filled tears are because I'm not going to be mad about optional gay sex scenes, and I don't look to video games for my history lessons, right? And I wanted to point out here, where's the outrage of Christian Henry banged a married woman, had an orgy with priests, gay monk novice, all those unchristian things. Christians didn't do that. It's revisionism. Because the argument here is that they're doing historical revisionism. Oh, it's optional? You can avoid a game of Oracle And by the way, fun fact, Farkle was not around during this time period. You can avoid drinking alcohol. You can avoid flirting with a woman and not have sex in a bathhouse. Really? You don't say, right? You never see anyone outraged over. My point is, you never see anyone outraged on KCD1 game, Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, over them. But now it's a Christian game shunning its roots. I don't think they've played it. I've played it. I can guarantee you it's not Christian, right? And so since those don't work, right? Since those arguments work and people are the game is still getting popularity, still getting it's creating a Streisand effect, which we will see. They go for the ultimate low blow. And I'm not going to talk about this too much. I'm just going to show you a Kotaku journalist behavior. This is your new Kotaku, ladies and gentlemen. From my opinion, Kingdom Come Deliverance creator Daniel Vibra addresses child thing. I'm not going to say because I want my channel checked down. So I said, wait, Sir Capone was 15 when he banged the butcher's daughter in KCD and a bathhouse witch is a KCD1. And then I put in, for those who don't know, yeah, I don't know why Trent shows outrage over 15-year-old gay Hans calling for a ban, but not calling for a ban over 15-year-old straight Hans in KCD1. He had a whole DLC on it, not defending pedo. So I'm basically going to say, I'm not defending pedo bears. I'm saying it seems more like Trent is okay with some pedo since he doesn't mention it in his article. I read the article. The Amorous Adventures of Bullets or Captain Hans. And that's that one that we had to do, right? That's the one we had to do before we could go right off into the sunset and finish the main story. I believe it was last week, right? So we had to do this one for some reason. And part of that reason is that Sir Hans, the character Sir Hans is based off of the real life person. His name is not Sir Hans, but the real life person that Sir Hans is based off of, and I can't say this the Slovakian name, which translates to Sir Hans. He actually did have a son. I'm not going to go in here and say about the history and this and that. They wanted to pull a sucker punch. I'm like, I'm done. I'm calling out the hypocrites, right? They're exposed. John Del Rose. I just mute so I can get the engagement anyways. All right. Because he's not winning. He's not winning. He's just basically this guy.
Is that the video game industry, without a lot of fanfare, has transformed into a tool of both propaganda and surveillance. It's an effective way to indoctrinate children precisely because it hasn't received much attention, and also because children spend, many of them, hundreds of hours a year, and that might be an undercount, a severe undercount, with this kind of content. So it should get a lot of our attention. And now finally that attention is here. And it's yet another reason to keep these games as far away from your children as possible. And if you do that, games journalists, literally the lowest form of journalists on the planet, will accuse you of harassment. And that's exactly how you'll know that you're doing the right thing. Will accuse you of.
I want to put this out. He's not completely wrong. We're not saying they say half truths. They try to spin a narrative, right?
Literally the lowest form of journalists on the planet will accuse you of harassment. And now finally that attention is here.
All right, so here we go.
Yet another reason to keep these games as far away from your children as possible. And if you do that, games journalists, literally the lowest form of journalists on the planet, and if you do that, games journalists, literally the lowest form of journalists on the planet, will accuse you of harassment. And that's exactly how you'll know that you're doing the right thing.
You remember how JDA and John F. Trent and all these and the Gamergate individuals, when we closed the chapter, were all accusing us of harassing them because we didn't fit their narrative, right? If we don't take their side, we're some slander. Okay, I go by what Treebeard said. Side, I'm on no side. There's no one is on my side. And he tries to talk about masculinity. I tell people, okay, Well, were you a tree trimmer? Were you a laborer? Did you serve the armed forces? Anything in the top 10 masculine jobs? No? Then shut the fuck up. Because you don't know what masculinity is. And I just posted a response because I don't always agree with Jeremy Prime because I think he went nuts because he wanted to put all the left on the list, and I was like, oh, I'm done. But back then I was like, I just posted this from 2018. He's been consistent in this. Video games are the sacred cow of this country. I'm tired of it. Our country is filled with adults who are obsessed with blah blah blah. So yeah, he's been consistent on this, right? And they're using that again. But the thing is, I want to talk about JDA is JDA and Jonathan Trent, they're becoming the new Matt Walsh. They're becoming the new Kotakuism. And what they're doing is creating a Streisand effect. Here's ThemeDB, okay, to give proof. It's got 89.49% reviews. And if you watch my videos, they let the reviews alone except for that one piracy thing. And no one has come forward to Hypnotic or anyone else that I know of or myself showing a review that has been banned. This is why I deep dive everything. I don't believe just because when Hypnotic came out and said that, I also questioned him. I also looked into it, and I also went there out of respect for Hypnotic because he's a good content creator. And I decided to say, hey, boss man, this is wrong. You need to fix yourself because I'm looking after his brand. Okay. Edemion, buckled down. All right. As much as I love the Edemion, he's coming around and following that JDA crowd. We are divided. No, we're not. We are separating the wheat from the chaff. We're separating the posers from the actual gamers because Damian said that Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 is a Christian God-fearing game. And I said it's based on history, it's being respectful to religion, but it's not a God-fearing game. One of my major arguments on that, you can say everything else, but my major argument on that is it is a major sin to have an affair with a married woman or married man. And one of the achievements you can have in that game is you can court Lady Stephanie. And if you court Lady Stephanie, you cannot gain the virgin achievement, which means that you bang a married woman. And then there's prostitutes, and there's all this other stuff. So, Demion did not play the game. Now, from what I think Hypnotic said last night, or maybe he said it in a mod chat, I can't remember. I know it was from Hypnotic, but he pointed out that Demion did admit to the fact that he did not play the game. So he was calling it a Christian game without actually looking into the game. He's calling it now a pedo game because he's never played the game, only because of Embracer Group, right? Only because it has a gay Henry. And I want to ask everyone that's watching this now that wants to give a thumbs down to my content, I want to ask you this. If the game did not have Vanguard BlackRock in it, funding 3% of it, if it did not have that, and it was still removed, because we found out it's still removed on Saudi Arabia, PlayStation, and Xbox. But when I did my video, it was not removed from here. So we'll look that up. Let's see if I can still look that up. Metadata. Languages, Russian, Turkish. All right. Let's see, where's it at? I gotta remember how I found it. Not in Russia or Belarus, right? Update history. All right, see if it's in here. There's no some of my other ones. I gotta find it. I didn't think I was gonna bring it up here. In Kuwait, it's in Singapore. No, it's not available in Russia. Saudi. Oh, here we go. Saudi. It's available in Saudi Arabia. I asked Hypnotic if you can verify because this is the first time I actually done this. But what does that mean? If it's available in Saudi Arabia, is it banned? Did Daniel Babra lie? Did Daniel Babra lie? I'm not defending him. He said, we're not banned in any country that I know of. So there's another reason why, or maybe it is the same reason why SteamDB and Xbox removed it, but it's not removed from Steam here. All right. This is SteamDB. Right. So we'll just use that because there is another page where it shows it and it shows the unavailable countries. And I guess that was before the launch day. I don't have it anymore. But, you know, they're trying so hard to cancel this. They're trying so hard to cancel this game because of Gay Henry, because someone told them it was a Christian game, because someone watched a video and thought because it says Christ be with you or Jesus Christ be praised or this other stuff, they thought it was a Christian game. And part of that I blame Idemian's feet because he did not do his due diligence. This is why it's dangerous. This is why I will not use an anonymous source unless I can verify what he's saying without showing his face. And when someone says they want their face known, I definitely double check and triple check their source and make sure that they are a good source, because that's my name going on this video. And if I'm ever wrong on this, I will come out and say I'm wrong. This is why I'm very careful with how I'm saying it. Says, according to this, right? It's not banned. I asked someone who's more professional on this. He hasn't looked it up yet. But look what I did. I didn't jump. I'm not trying to put shade on Hypnotic. All right. I didn't put, because I did. If I wanted to put shade on Hypnotic, I would actually go as far as to mock him and say, you jumped the gun. If I wanted to do that to Pirate Nation, same thing. Right. And people went to Hypnotic's thing and said they tried to justify stealing the game, piracy. They tried to justify piracy. I'm like, no. Because then you're being a hypocrite. You don't care about Gay Henry, just like you don't care about Gay Henry. You just want a free fucking game. And you will hide in your closet and play and goon on Gay Henry. Because that's what it seems like. But you know what? In lighter news, because I don't want to throw a lot of shade on JDA and show I don't judge his lifestyle choices. I know that he loves Pokemon really much. He loves Lucario. But he can pre-order his own life-size Gardevoir doll for $500, according to Niche Gamer. So, you know, he can goon off of another Pokemon right there. Okay, so 63 inches tall, the perfect wife that he can beat up without beating up his actual wife. So, yeah, that's that covers the whole fiasco of Gamergate. And as we said, we waited 10 years or more for proof, and we have it. But we've had proof for a while. Like, some of this stuff was out for a while because they got careless. And obviously, over time, the stench of lies and propaganda is so great that the truth eventually comes out. Right? Let's see. Well, it's going to be accurate, truthful, concise, critical. Yes. Yes. And I for everyone else, y'all go ahead. Frosting, are you still in the chat? If you are, I got to wrap up. I got to do the upcoming game news I'm going to make clips for. If you're still in the chat, can you send the Hypnotic raid link? Actually, let me see if I can do that. Because if he's not here, then I got to do it. But let's see. There we go. All right. So everyone else, please go over and Hypnotic Stream. It's still doing the intro, but if you want to stay nearby and hear the news of upcoming games, that's cool. But everyone else, thank you for coming. And I want to see Hypno Raid, all right, or Lavistro Raid, okay? If you're still watching, and I'm gonna put this link out over on type it here. So everyone else, Rumble, X, YouTube, Twitch, Kick. There's a link coming over there. Go say Hypno Raid. All right. Oh, sorry, no, Lavistro Raid. Okay, there we go. Freedom Fighter setting Lavistro Raid. All right, for everyone else, we're going to continue here, all right? So we're going to continue with some new upcoming games, including some Booba games. All right? So I chose like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games from 3 to 4 different sources. All right? So yes, make sure you shout out to Hypnotic and say, give a like. Look, only two people don't like it. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on. So niche gamer reviews. Right, Scar lead Salvation coming in the West in 2025. Idea Factory International has announced a Western release for Scar Lead Salvation, the recently announced roguelike shooter from Wild Hearts and Nilo. Scar Lead Salvation is coming west on May 29 for Windows PC via Steam, day and date with the Japanese release. Unlike the Japanese release, which is planned for PC, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5, the recent release is only for PC. Idea Factory confirmed to Niche Gamer there is currently nothing to announce for a Western console release, so there's not going to be a Western console plan. The PC version of Scar Salvation will include Japanese and English spoken language, and support for English, Japanese, Spanish, French, and traditional Chinese and civilized Chinese subtitles. I thought it was kind of cool. So it's not up here. That's not it. I thought they'd say more, but basically it's but here it's ready to tell more. So so more information on Scar Lead Salvation. The protagonist Willow Martin has no memory of her past, but is up upon entering combat. Her body moves naturally, and she exhibits high combat skills. Another character named I is in the game. The dungeons in the game are procedurally generated. The game features 10 different types of weapons, with some being typical, while others are flashy and sci-fi inspired. Weapons can improve in their teleportation movements as well as parrying. When the player dies, you lose your weapon and the level upgrades, but a curious number increases on your face. So a death counter, right? So I thought it was pretty interesting. I got in trouble for sharing the voices. Oh. Ooh. This looks kind of cool. So yeah, that's the trailer for it. Doesn't tell you much, but it's just a teaser. But it kind of looks cool. I'm thinking I actually have it on my wish list for now. But yeah, just something I thought you might like to see. It's ironic we've already talked about this guy. All right, so I saw this. This was another thing I saw interesting. I didn't read it yet. I just saw it's like, oh, a World War II version mech game. So, Grit and Valor 1949 gets a release date in March. I mean, from the image here, they have like a mech. It kind of reminds me of Wolfenstein, right? I don't know if it is, I like mech games, so I thought it was kind of cool. Lavistro Mech Bitch and developer Milky T announced a release date for Grit and Valor 1949, their alt history World War II diesel punk strategy game. Grit and Valor 1949 is set to launch on Windows PC on March 26, and a new playable demo is available now. After the game's debut of the Windows, the console release is planned for sometime later on the Xbox Series, Switch, PS5, and Epic Games Store. Here's a rundown of the previously announced game, plus a new trailer, a diesel punk real-time strategy roguelite set in alt history World War II, Grit and Valor. Puts you in the command of elite mech squadron, think fast and battle evil Axis forces to liberate Europe, upgrade your mechs and pilots, and develop new strategies to neutralize the enemy HQ. It's 1942, the world races on. Europe is on its knees. Deadly Axis mechs patrol the landscape, intimidating the populace and fleshing out rebels. Survivors are few, but have regrouped under the new flag of the Resistance. You are the free world's last hope. Your deadly mission to deliver a devastating EMP weapon into the heart of the enemy territory to turn the tide of the war. Evolved real-time fantasy tactics gameplay. I'm not going to read the whole thing here because it's I don't have any more water, but I'm just going to give you the back of the box things. Devastating region bosses. So, regroup, rebuild, redeploy. If your command vehicle is destroyed, your mission is over. Okay, cool. So here's the trailer.
Enemies are closing in.
Oh, it's an RTS, I think.
Our strategy is a ferocious march through Europe to strike their mechs and destroy the Axis HQ. Failure
I misunderstood what they were saying.
Every setback is an opportunity to regroup, rebuild, and redeploy. The finest mech pilots in the Resistance.
I don't know if you can hear it, but if you can hear it, cool.
To succeed in combat. But be warned, fearsome enemy command mechs have been preparing to challenge us. The entire Resistance is behind you, Commander. Fight with grit and valor, and victory will be ours.
So yeah, that's Grit and Valor. So I just thought that was something nice to share. I always try to find new things. It's like a lot of people like to post the negativity, but I like to try and find new games. And this is pretty much why, because no one talks about it. But here's a rumor for God of War fans that the next team might be a prequel. So I already know what people are going to say, and we've all known the past. Frosting says, let me go back here. Frosting says, so it reminds me of Wolfenstein meets Killzone meets the movie 9 in terms of inspiration. Yes, but yeah, it kind of does. Like I thought it was pretty cool. And I'm not usually into RTSs anymore. But the next one, this one here is from Game Rant. There's a rumor going around that the next God of War game might be a prequel, right? So already with how they treated the franchise and IP, we already are concerned it might be rewriting history. So it's a prequel. I hope it's just an origin story. I don't know if I played. I know I played God of War 2, but I don't know if I played God of War 1. But they say the next God of War game might revisit Greece and feature younger Kratos, according to credible insider Tom Henderson. A recent rumor alleged that God of War franchise would head to Egypt next, but Henderson reckons otherwise. The rumored God of War prequel could resolve the narrative loose ends of Kratos' journey to the Norse lands of Greece. A reliable insider suggests that the next God of War game may revisit the series, forming setting in Greece. While fans expect an all-new Papillon Guns in the next entry of the franchise, another Greek God of War game could do well to tie up the narrative loose ends in 2018. Kratos' tale of revenge in Greek God of War treated is among the most iconic stories in gaming history. It's going to spectacularly in 2010's God of War 3, following which Santa Monica Studio released God of War Ascension in 2013. The prequel was the last God of War game set in Greece in Santa Monica Studio, then soft rebooting the franchise with the Norse Pantheon in 2018. The Norse saga ended with 2022's God of War Ragnarok, and ever since then, fans have been aching to learn which Pantheon Kratos shall grace next. Most fans currently had their bets set on Egypt as the next God of War game setting, but a recent rumor may indicate otherwise. Over on the Insider Gaming Weekly podcast, reputable industry insider Tom Henderson refuted the Egypt rumor and claimed the next God of War game will be set in Greece and feature younger Kratos. The story will perfectly revolve around Kratos' relationship with his father, which isn't much of a hint considering the events that lead up to and transpired prior to God of War 3. Interesting, Henderson couldn't confirm the alleged game would be a new prequel to the Greek saga or somehow associated with the rumors remastering the classic God of War titles for the series' 20th anniversary this year. Wires can often get crossed when it comes to reporting such rumors, so there's a chance that Henderson's information might be pertaining to a remaster of God of War, of a Greek God of War game as a brand new prequel. So basically they're saying it could be a remake or a prequel. The insider did note that he wasn't fully confident in the veracity of his information, so a hefty grain of salt is in order. If Santa Monica Studios does indeed decide to head back to Greece for the God of War game, it's likely to tie up the still ambiguous plot thread of Kratos' reemergence in the Norse lands after the end of God of War 3. It seemed that God of War that Kratos simply hopped on a boat and floated all the way to Midgard. But in 2021's God of War Fallen Gods comic book teased the involvement of an Egyptian pantheon during this intermediary period. Therefore, it's a fair bit of material for Santa Monica Studios to weave a compelling prequel story of Kratos that finally explains how he reached the Norse lands. But only time will tell which path the studio will take. So yeah, that's the news on God of War. I don't know if many people still like God of War. I haven't played Ragnarok. I heard people say mixed things about it. I don't know very much about the lore of God of War. I just know the gist of it. But I just thought it was something to share. I wish there would be more of us content creators trying to find this stuff out rather than what games coming out. Let's talk about games that are coming that are going to be fun and interesting. I don't know, but I'll be playing along. Just wait. The first time I get to before God of War 18, God of War 3. And I wonder, it wasn't Jaffe one of the writers for God of War? So I'm wondering if that's true. I wonder if that's why he's making an appearance. Because I think Daniel Vavra is scripting on everyone's reactions to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 to prolong the life expectancy of the marketing phase for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. To get as many people as he can interested into the game. So I'm wondering, I can't remember if Daniel Jaffe wrote the storyline of God of War. I can't remember. But it seems like that would make sense of why he's coming out now. He's trying to get his reactivate his social media thumbprint, whatever, his carbon footprint. It's my theory that he's scripting. See. Jeffy has been involved with God of War since God of War 2. Yes. So I'm wondering, I mean, it's like if we're getting rumors, I'm wondering if that's why. If he's actually trying to get involved in God of War again. I don't know. Like, in this case, he'd be righting his wrong, trying to make Kratos not so masculine and stuff like that. I don't know. But that's just something I thought about, like when I was reading this. Like I didn't put much of it. It like popped in my head when we were reading. It's like, I wonder if Jaffe is trying to get engagement farms so people could get his name out there. And he can. This is why I don't cover social media celebrities too much, right? Yeah, but to be fair, so is Daniel Vavra. He went on Jaffe's stream as well. And like I said, like Daniel Vavra, for all his appearances, right? How do we know this was not his plan, right? How do we know that he is Like I believe, like when I say I believe, like making the games you want to make, that includes Daniel Vavra. So if he wants to add this stuff in there, then he has to have a really good reason why. I'm not saying he does. I'm saying he has to have. For it to be good, he has to have that reason why. And as we've seen from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it seems pretty good. But I think the way he handles his base and handles people talking about his game, he can't take constructive criticism. So, next rumor is Castlevania. A new Castlevania could be announced this year. Yeah, no, those who interested in Castlevania, there's a new game coming out, according to GameRank. Fans of Castlevania have recently been excited as rumors are spreading that a new game could be announced in 2025. The Blood series, known for its graphic visuals, iconic soundtracks, and challenging gameplay, has spanned multiple decades since its debut way back in 1986. Over the years, numerous core games, spin-offs, and television shows have been released under the Castlevania umbrella. However, it's been some time since the last mainline entry into the storied franchise. While Castlevania video game series have remained largely dormant, aside from a few re-releases and collections, its presence on television has been steadily growing. The first animated Castlevania series debuted in Netflix in 2017, received widespread acclaim from both fans and critics. Its follow-up, Castlevania Nocturne, also a popular streaming service, was simply well received. Given the success of these adaptations, the prospect of new Castlevania game may now be more appealing to its publisher. As revealed by Daniel Camillo on Twitter, a new AAA Castlevania game is rumored to be announced this year. The post also mentions 4 other potential games revealed in 2025, including a new mainline Tomb Raider title, a Fire Emblem remake, a Nier Automata sequel, and EA FC 26. However, Camillo notes that the rumors come from different sources. While they are considered fairly reliable, there's no guarantee a new Castlevania game will be materializing for fans. So yeah. Yes, Corey Balrog is the new head leader. So I didn't know if they brought. What I'm saying is, like, I don't know if they brought Jazzy in under advisement. Does that make sense? Like, hey, you wrote the original series. Let's make sure we get the lore right. Or we want to fix this. How do we make sure that people don't come over to us and say that we're revisioning it? How can we do this without making our obvious revisionism an obvious revisional? Does that make sense? I don't know if he's stepping down. But yeah. So the next thing I want to point out is from IGN. Crysis makes a surprise Sid Meier Civilization VR announcement. Crysis has announced a virtual reality version of the recently released Civilization 7. Sid Meier Civilization VR is the long-running strategy franchise's first foray into VR and launched in spring 2025, exclusive on MetaQuest and 3DS. Publisher 2K Games said Sid Meier Civilization VR is developed by Playside Studios, which worked on VR games The Walking Dead and Saints and Sinners and Meta Horizon Worlds. And these are some images. Right? Let's see. There's another one. Interesting. So it's like you're playing on a VR table. Okay. Here's the official blurb. In Civilization 7 VR, the world of Civilization is brought to life like never before. The map takes shape atop a command table, lets you peer down from high above or lean all the way in to appreciate the finer details of buildings and units. Like a tabletop game come to life. Players will chart a course for their people and engage face-to-face with iconic world leaders across the command table, each reacting as you forge alliances or declare war for the ages. Civilization VR is available to play in either immersive virtual reality or mixed reality, and you'll be able to freely switch between the two at any time. In virtual reality, players are transported to an ornate museum as they look out onto a vista personalized to their leader. In mixed reality, the command table adapts to its placement in the player's physical space. Detailed dioramas can be used in the archives, a room in your museum dedicated to your gameplay. And blah, blah, blah. Crysis 4X strategy sequel is currently available on PC and console for those who pay more for advanced access. And they're certainly letting their voices be known in Steam user reviews, highlighting issues with the user interface, a lack of map variety, and a feeling that Civilization has launched without a number of features they've come to expect. Firaxis has responded to this feedback, promising improvements to UI, the addition of teams to multiplayer games, so people can play cooperatively in a wider variety of map types, among other things. In an interview with IGN ahead of the release of third quarter official results, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick acknowledged that Civilization 7 has received some negative reviews from the press and players, but insists that the legacy Civ audience will come around the more they play. And it's called Civilization 7's early performance very encouraging. Looking for tips to help you take over the world? Check out our guide to complete every Civ 7 victory or run down the biggest Civ 7 changes for Civ 6 players and the 14 crucial Civ 7 mistakes to avoid. We've gotten explanations on all the Civ 7 map types, difficulty settings, so you know what you're getting into. I haven't played Civilization for a long time. So that's that. And this one I'm doing because Cope Classic Cage was interesting. We did cover it for the Xbox Live Expo. This is from Turtle Beach. Claire, Obscure, Expedition 3 editions, Deluxe Pre-Order, and more. So if you remember from the Xbox Game Developers Direct video, they featured this, their Obscuration. Their Obscuration Expedition 33 is going to be the first major JRPG to release in 2025 after a phenomenal year of JRPGs in 2024. There's our aunt. While there is a ton of expectations pertaining to the game, it's going to be good to know what editions are launching within the game. Here's what we know. Claire Obscure 30 Edition 33 is announced during Summer Games Fest 2024, and Sandfall Interactive has just recently revealed a brand new trailer. The game itself looks incredible with some JRPG elements that we all know and love, and graphically the game looks stunning. The game itself will feature some additions that players will have a chance to pick and choose from, and these are noted below. So you have the base game, the Flowers Collection, 6 outfits and hair spires. And then you have a custom outfit, Claire, from Mael, or I can't say that. And Obscure, a custom outfit for Gustav. So yeah, that's all I have. I hope that this is a game I thought was pretty interesting when we saw the expedition, and Cult Classic Cage was interested in it. So I know she likes to come support my videos, so that's a special thank you to her. I decided to cover this because I don't know if she knows the news about this yet, and if she doesn't, I doubt she does. If she does, well, this gives her hype. But yes, everyone else, thank you for watching. We're about to shut down the stream. Don't forget, we don't have an outro yet. I fell behind because I was taking care of my son. He was sick this week. But we're about to shut down the stream. And don't forget to come by after Hypnocast, because I'll be starting Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We're going to do some more fine combing and go on from there. Other than that,